Our first speaker this morning is Janell Petersen. Janell holds a BA in Biblical Studies from Central Bible College, now Evangel University, and has over 20 years of experience serving in ministry as a pastor and a leader. She lives in Omaha, Nebraska with her husband and 2 children, one of whom has multiple disabilities. Janell's personal journey and ministry experience have led her to her current role as Executive Consulting Director for Ability Tree. Through this organization, she raises awareness, provides training, and offers education on disability ministry to churches and organizations across the United States and globally. Janell is passionate about making the church the most inclusive place on earth where individuals impacted by disability and neurodivergence can feel loved, supported, and included. And today she'll be talking with us about sensory spaces on a budget. Welcome, Janell.
Thank you. This is a very fun subject for me. I love sensory spaces. They're always inviting and welcoming. I do have a handout. If you don't have one, you can grab one on your way out or see me at the Ability Tree booth and you can get a copy of today's, just a general overview of today's quick take. So creating a sensory space on a budget. Before I get into the budgeting part, let's just talk about some basics about sensory spaces. Notice I'm using the word spaces and not rooms. It can be a room, but it also can be a space. I know that the average church is actually under 100 people if you account for all the rural areas. And a lot of times in churches we think, I can't have a sensory room or a sensory space. I'm not a mega church. Well, you can. You can create a calming corner just in the corner of a room from preschool through elementary. You can create a space in the back if you have large group area or a classroom. But if you do have a spare classroom or even a closet, clean it out, add a safety window, and you can use that space as a sensory room. Another basic thing to remember about these sensory spaces is that we want them calming. It's a place where individuals who are overwhelmed can take a break, can reset, calm down. It's not a place for a punishment. It can be used as a reward, okay? So this is to calm their minds, calm their brains, and just what it is just giving them a brain break. So you want to think spa, not arcade. A lot of times in the American classrooms, we add so much stuff on the walls, and we have all these types of fidgets and toys and bells and whistles, but that is still going to create overstimulation. We want to create a place that actually calms the brain down. So think spa, not arcade. Again, think reward, not a place for punishment or discipline, but you can also use the place for instruction if you do need to calm someone down or bring about instruction because you're removing them from a environment of chaos and you're able just to kind of de-escalate and use that space for de-escalation and re-regulation. Another basic that I want to talk about is the colors that you choose. When choosing appropriate colors, use calming colors. What are calming colors? Think of nature. God's creation. He knows our bodies the best. He created the ecosystem and our biological system, and there's synergy between the two. There's harmony between the two. And so there's a lot of statistics and even science behind nature, how nature calms the brain. So let's bring nature into that room to calm down our brains that might be overstimulated and create a break. So these are some examples of some colors to use. Avoid those primary colors, like I mentioned, that we like to use in our American classrooms. Sometimes individuals with autism can view red as fluorescent, and it can be alarming. Lighting. So this is another basic when it comes to creating a sensory space or a sensory room. Our churches love that fluorescent lighting, don't they? So we want to try to just turn off those lights or replace it with LED lighting. If you have someone who's handy in your church, add a dimmer to it, but you can also do accent lighting, such as a bubble tube or dimmable lighting, even a lamp will work. And then you can even use just the plug-in projectors you can buy off of Amazon as well. This will create that calming sensory space that you're looking for. And then another thing that people forget all the time is noise. Noise. We want noise not to get in because they're probably overstimulated at church. Church is very noisy, and sound seems to be amplified for those with sensory needs. So we don't want sound coming in, but we also don't want sound coming out. So if it's possible, even soundproofing the room if you have the budget for that. And another tip that I want to give you are those early childhood rooms. A lot of times churches have these toys that are noisy. And those can be overstimulating. If you just simply remove those, everyone's going to be calmer and happier. There's much more interactive toys that you can provide. So as much as the people in your church want to donate those toys, just say no thank you. Donate them to somebody else, okay? Now, some key pieces. When I have the privilege of going to a church and evaluating someone's sensory room, or they're wanting to build one and they want us to identify a space and add pieces to it, I get this question often. And the question is, what are the key pieces that I need to have? If there is just like minimal pieces, what should I have? This is your answer right here. Okay, soft, fluffy rugs. Soft, fluffy rugs. That's an easy, inexpensive fix. A floor rocker. Now, some people can't get down on the floor, so just have a regular rocker, maybe add some padding to it. A crash pad or a mat is very important, especially in the early childhood as they're developing. A lot of times around 3 or 4, that's when that sensory input for headbanging happens, so provide a mat. But a crash pad is great for full body sensory, okay? So if you have the space to do a crash pad, you can do it, and it won't bust your budget either. A magnetic dry erase board is actually a very inexpensive interactive wall panel that you can create. They love dry erase. It's also, if you do magnetic, you can add magnetiles to it and other toys. And then just textile objects. So just some materials that people can touch. That's very inexpensive. Another great sensory tool that you can have at your church are sensory bags. Our sensory bags. What are sensory bags? They are busy bags for those with sensory needs. We have them. We provide them for you near cost because we're able to buy them in bulk, so you can purchase them from us, and we can send those to you. So scan this QR code. If you're watching online, just kind of take a screenshot of this or pause this and scan it, and you can order already done, pre-done, vetted sensory bags. They can be taken throughout the program in the sanctuary or in the corners of classrooms to take a break. They're just a wonderful mobile way to create a sensory space. Now, I did something very special for you. I created what I call a budget pyramid. A budget pyramid. I know this is a lot of information up here. It's even hard to read. That's why I have these handouts. So again, if you're just watching online, go ahead and you can just screenshot this or pause this, or you can also email us at consultingbranch@abilitytree.org, and I will send you a copy of a sensory space on a budget. So no matter what size of church you're at, what your budget is, you can come in on this pyramid and you can build out a sensory room. Tier 1 is just books, fidgets, sensory toys, the sensory bags. Tier 2 is even adding holiday string lights. Make sure that they're ceiling height on the string lights because they can get hot or they can be pulled down. And then a sound machine, that's calming. Those magnetic boards that you can order off of Amazon, I already mentioned that, and seat cushions and rugs. So the next tier after that is your crash packs, your hug canoes. Those are within the $100 frames or range. So anywhere that you are at with your church, you can enter into this pyramid and you can build out as you raise money or have more funding to build out your sensory room. This is one example. As you can see, that magnet dry erase board, that's just a simple space. That's just we're not thinking, this huge, multi-sensory gym that's interactive, just a place where someone can re-regulate. Then you can build it out with some more textile or interactive panels. We don't recommend tents, but a teepee is okay if you have an individual who needs that safe space. Just make sure that they're open and visible and only allow one person in there at a time. And then as you can see, that is a rocker, and that rocker is actually transferable for those that use wheelchairs, but anybody can use them, so that's a great investment as well. Let's talk about creative budgeting, okay? Creative budgeting. Let me give you some ideas about this. Create an Amazon list. Be very specific. Again, at Ability Tree, we have vetted, recommended products that you can order right off of Amazon, and then put it out to your congregation or your community and allow people to buy off of the Amazon list, just like you would for teachers or for a registry. And so it can be specific. You already know they're handpicked, and you can have provisions for your sensory room. Also request a second-hand registry. Okay, so again, instead of asking just for general donations, create a registry where you say, we're specifically looking for your old Duplos. Can you please donate your Duplos? Can you please donate your Magna tiles? And then a community fundraiser. The community loves to get behind projects like this, so don't be afraid to ask the community or ask stores for donations. You can be very specific. A lot of times Walmart, you can apply and ask for specific toys for donations. And then also seek out how to apply for grants in your community. Look for someone who's a grant writer in your community who has experience in that, and ask for help for applying those grants. And then utilize your crafters and creators. This is a great example right here. This is something that was created from just people within the church. It's nature-inspired sensory room there. And then this here, lastly, is an example I have of all the pieces that I just recommended that's basic for only $265.79. You might say, well, that's my whole children's budget, okay, or that's my whole budget. Well, I'm going to give you a very, very practical tip. Go to Walmart. You buy 7 packages of the 40-count water bottles. You go to your town fair or your farmer's market. You get a permit. Then usually they'll donate it if they know the project behind it. And then you sell these water bottles for $1 a piece, ice cold, where it's really hot in your community. And guess what? If you buy 7 packages of that 40 count, you just raised $280 to pay for your sensory space. And here, right here, is our Amazon storefront. You can scan this. Again, pause it on the video, and you can screen capture this as well. And these are all of our recommended products as well. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Thanks again for having me.